Hello, everyone, and welcome to this 1.5 hour session on Power BI and Tableau. I will give you a little bit of background in terms of who I am, what I do, what type of projects I work on, and how I end up using tools like Excel, PowerPoint, Power BI, and Tableau. Um, because the participants are also very diverse, some of you might be students, some of you are faculties working in the corporate. Your expectations from the session will also be very different. So I will try my very best to make sure that I address all those questions that you have. The platform is open all the time. All of you are unmuted. You can use the chat window. You can talk to me whenever you want. If you have any questions in the middle, do let me know. Put it on the chat window, and I will try to answer it as quickly as possible, right? While we do have quite a bit of time, there are also many things that I want to showcase to you. So we are packed for the next 1.5 hours. So please make sure not to wait till the end to ask your queries. Whatever queries you have, put it on the chat window. And like I said, I will try to answer it as quickly as possible. Okay, for those of you who do not know who I am, my name is Havish Madhvapati. I run a firm called Havisham Consulting. It's an independent consulting firm. It's a proprietorship, so I work as an independent consultant. I don't have a team with me. The work I do is on Excel, a lot of work on Power BI, a little bit of work on Tableau, and some bit of work on PowerPoint as well. I also dabble in Python and R, but more of as a hobby, not so much as a corporate engagement. So about 80% of the work I do is between Excel and Power BI. In terms of my qualification, I am a 40 under 40 analytics, Harvard online certified in data science, Microsoft partner. Just a couple of days back, Havisham Consulting became a NASCOM member as well. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer, Power BI certified, a Microsoft Office master, and a bunch of other awards as well. In terms of clients with whom I work, it's, as you can see, very diverse. So I do a lot of work in the energy and power sector, as you can see. In the past, I've worked extensively with PwC and EY, where I used to conduct trainings on modeling and storytelling for them. At the moment, I work a lot with DE Shaw. Other than that, it's quite scattered, so many different firms with whom I work. I also get invited by Economic Times to conduct sessions for masterclass. So I do a lot of sessions of financial analysis and modeling. In terms of B school engagements, as an educator, I love partnering and engaging with B schools around the country. So I work as a faculty at IIM Kozhikode, IIT Gazibad, and Shriram College of Commerce. And I teach a lot of non-credit courses and workshops at a bunch of other top B schools as well. I mean, all the details are here on the website in case you're curious and you want to go back and have a look. This is very important in context of today's session, which is dashboard samples. So a lot of projects that I've done on Power BI and Tableau, you will find here on the website on dashboard samples. You can see these are dashboards on HR, L&D, performance tracking, marketing, sales, finance. Obviously, the data has been sanitized, but there's quite a lot that you will find here. And you can even download it. So all the Power BI reports can be downloaded by clicking on the GitHub link. The Tableau ones cannot be downloaded, but you can see my Tableau public profile. So everything that I teach has been covered here as well. I also have a podcast called Conversations on Data, where I invite business leaders, people from various sectors and functions, speak to them about anything and everything related to analytics, and more importantly, advice to B school students. So the most recent guest that I had was Arpit Jain, who is an IIM Kozhikode student, was one of my students as well. Then Talia is working with an Excel MVP. So we spoke about importance of Excel and Power BI for accountants. Then Ankit is a national sales head at Allianz. He has just recently moved to Exicom. So I've had different guests over the last year or so, and these are 30 to 40-minute conversations. And you can have a look at it. Everything is there on YouTube, and see if you like it and if you find something helpful. And then finally, I have a YouTube channel by my name, Havish Madhvapati. There are more than 850 videos here covering a lot on Excel, basic, intermediate, advanced, very advanced. Similarly on PowerPoint, Word, Power BI, Tableau as well. And I continuously keep on updating the content here, right? Perfect. Um, so the sort of work that I do with clients, that's what I want to share with you first before doing a hands-on session with you. So if you look at the customer success stories, these are projects that I have done with various clients. And let me just zoom in. So I help clients transition from Excel to Power BI. That's a very common requirement. Power BI being still very new to the market. And it's not a very easy decision because you can't just shift everything from Excel to Power BI. They complement and supplement each other. So that's what I enable clients to do, right? Make dynamic dashboards, clean their Excel data, combine multiple files, model all the files together. Then I obviously do a lot of work in HR analytics, helping create talent trackers, performance management, reward and recognition, like that. There's a lot of work on automation as well, which is to reduce the turnaround time. And in the past, I've done a lot of work on Excel Visual Basics. So all these forms that you see, these have all been created on VBA, right? All of this is there on the website, so I won't spend time on it. If you're curious, you can go back and have a look at this, right? And I update all this very frequently. Okay, so I will immediately start with a data set and show you how they are similar and also dissimilar to each other. I know that all of you are at different levels of knowledge. So some of you might just be starting out with Power BI and Tableau. Some of you might be looking at a more advanced session. So I will try to balance both the things, right? I will do the basic for those of you who are just starting out. And for those of you who already know the tools, I will definitely cover a few advanced topics as well. So the first data set that I want to take is a very simple data set. It's a global superstore data set. Let me open and show it to you. I will also share the data set with you after the session so that you can go back and practice. Okay, so as you can see, we have a very clean, very rich data set. What we have here is the order date, the shipping date, the customer name. Then we have the geography, which is city, state, country, region, market. After that, we have the product details. So that would be the 3 categories, 3 business segments, and 17 subcategories. And then finally, we have the sales quantity, discount, and the profit, right? So it's a very clean data set. There are 50,000 odd records in it. Now, if you think about the analysis that you can do on Excel, make a trend line, create a forecast, find the top products, best region, the products that are not doing well, who are the top customers. To do all of these things, you will most likely end up making a pivot table. That would be the fastest, simplest way of doing it, isn't it? For example, if I ask you who are the top 10 customers in India, this is what we will do, right? We will insert a pivot table. Once I've done that, I'll have to put my customer name in the rows. I'll have to put my country in the filter. Now we will have to select India from here. Once we do that, we'll put the sales in values. And now I'll sort the data. So right click, sort largest to smallest. And these are my top 10 customers. Cynthia, Vivek, Barry, Laurel, Amy, so on. Now imagine you want to get the same result using Power BI. I want to show you how to do it. So let me first delete the sheet. For those of you who have never worked on Power BI before, remember Power BI is a completely free software. So Power BI Desktop is completely free of cost. To create all the visuals, all the data cleaning, all the formulas, you don't need to pay anything. You can work with any data set that you want. This is available on the Microsoft Store, or you can go to the Microsoft website and download it from there. So Power BI Desktop. So the first thing I want to do is to connect Power BI to that Excel file that I just showed to you. And I'm not really sure why it's asking me to sign in again, but that's okay. So Excel workbook, and I will go to my Power BI folder, PBI, Power BI, and connect to the same data set. Once the data set has been connected, I will select the sheet that we want and I will load the data set. So this entire process only takes 5 seconds. And once the data set is loaded, now you can use a lot of these amazing features that are there in Power BI. So one of the first things that you would want to do is to use this button, which is called a Q&A, which is a question and answer. It's an AI tool, which means that without needing to write a formula, you can basically get the answer that you want. Let's have a look. So I click on Q&A, and the first question that I want to ask is something very simple. What is my sales, right? So I'll just type sales, and it tells me that my total sales is 12.64 million. I'll copy and paste, and now I want to ask, what is my profit? So it tells me that my profit is 1.47. But maybe I want to see the sales by all the three segments that we have, right? Let's see how we do that. So I'll say sales by segment, and maybe I want to make a pie chart. So I will say as a pie, and we get a pie chart here. Let's keep on adding more questions. So one more question perhaps is, who are my top customers? So I say top 5 customer name by sales, and maybe just a table, nothing fancy, as a table. So it tells me my top 5 customers are these. And then I want to make a map. So I'll just copy and paste. And then the final question here would be that I want to create a map for India. So I want to see state, sales by state as a map, right? And remember, we want to see only India right now. We are not interested in 165 countries. So I will open up the filters pane. I will add a filter for my country here. And we only want to select India. And there you go. If you remember the names, Cynthia, Vivek, Barry, Laurel, Amy. How cool is that? And the best part is that all these elements are interconnected by default, which means that if I click on any one segment, you will notice that the names are changing, right? Similarly, if I select any region, let's say the South region, again, the names and all the KPIs are changing as well. Yeah. Any questions so far? Anyone?
Yes, Harsh. Yeah. So you are typing out some of the statements, right? Like sales by state as map. So
Yeah.
are these prefixed statements? Like there should be a
No, no,
preposition
not
like
really.
by
Not
or
really.
no.
For example, even if you say, I want to see sales for each state, right? It doesn't matter. So it's not like SQL, which means that it's a structured language and you have to remember all the keywords and all of that. Nothing like
Yeah.
that. It's just natural language. So just like
Okay.
normally you will speak to a person and you will say, what is the sales for each state on a map, right? So you can just do that. So if you said on a map, you notice it doesn't matter what the keywords are.
Okay. It still gives the result. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. Thanks.
Great. Anything else? Anyone? Right? Okay. Now let's come to the insights, because this is great, but reality is that most companies don't use Q&A a lot. I mean, it's okay, but then this doesn't give you the level of flexibility and customizability that you want. So maybe what I want to do is to find how my products are performing. That's a actual business problem. Real business problems will never be to tell, oh, this is not doing well, why is it not doing well? Most of the time, it starts with exploratory research. So you have to first go and figure out what is happening before getting into the why of it, right? So let's say we want to find out how are the subcategories performing, okay? So please watch. I want to first find the sales and the profit margin, okay? So I'll make a matrix, which is like a table. And in this matrix, I'll keep my subcategory and my sales and my profit. We don't want the decimal place, so let me remove that. So 0 decimal here and 0 decimals here as well. Perfect. Now, this is sort of like a Excel, right? I mean, it's a table with subcategory sales profit. I can sort it and it tells me that phones is doing really well. But does it really capture your attention? What is the area of interest? We all know that it's doing well, but let's focus more on either the product that should be doing well and is not doing well, or something that requires your urgent attention. For example, if all of you see tables, now this is a problem area because tables is quite high on sales, right? So the contribution to sales is pretty high, 7.5 lakhs, but you're incurring a loss. In fact, this is the only subcategory where you're incurring a loss. But if you look at machines, machines is also not doing really well. Machines is only doing 58,000 profit. I mean, look at the next subcategory. You're doing a lakh 41,000. So this is what we need to do. We need to go deeper into the analysis. So what I would like to do here is I will make a scatter chart, which is this one. And in the scatter chart, I want to keep my sales and profit. So I will keep my sales on the x-axis and my profit on the y-axis. And I want to keep my market in the values. So what are we trying to do? We are trying to find that we know that tables is not doing well, but can I also go market by market and see in which market is it doing the worst and in which market is it still doing well, correct? Now, the thing is that for any good analysis, we need to make all the subcategories relatable. Right now, I can't compare 46,000 with 1,40,000 because they're not on the same scale. How do you make them on the same scale? We will look at the profit margin. For example, if I say a Maruti Suzuki Swift is at a profit margin of 15% versus an Audi A4 at a profit margin of 15%, they're not comparable, right? But they are, because profit margins is comparable. You don't care about the number of units or the top line. The profit percentage becomes comparable. But if I say the number of units, that's not comparable. Saying that in the last month we have sold, let's say 15,000 units versus 1,000 is not fair. But we can compare the profit percentage. For this, we need to do a calculation. Calculations in Power BI use a language called DAX, Data Analysis Expressions. So just to quickly show you, DAX is a special language which is available on Power BI, SQL Server, and Excel as well. And the way it works is that I select new measure. And in this, we will simply write that we want to find our profit margin, which is equal to what? The profit margin is equal to the sum of your profit divided by the sum of your sales value. So aggregate profit in the numerator and then aggregate sales in the denominator. We will press enter and also convert this into a percentage. And now this new field that has been created, I will just drag it into the size in my scatter chart. And in the table, we'll put the profit margin next to our sales and profit. Now, this gives us a very interesting analysis. But let's enhance it a little further. So first, in formatting, I will go to General. I will add a border and shadow. Then I will use the Format Painter to copy it on the scatter chart. It looks a lot better this way, doesn't it? The second thing I want to do is to also put a conditional formatting on the profit margin. So we again go back to Format. We select Cell Elements, right? This is similar to conditional formatting on Excel. And we say that on the field, which is profit margin, I would like a background color, right? So now you notice that the darker the color, the bigger the profit, the lighter the color, the lesser the profit. I can also click on the FX button to say that my minimum should be a red and my highest value should be a green, like this. So it gives me a better sense that, okay, this is how the profitability is there, right? And now, because we know that charts are interconnected, when I go to tables and click on it, see what happens? It gives me a very different picture and it tells me that this is my zero line. So it's so interesting that tables, when you look at it, is very clear. It's not a product that is doing well, but Africa is still a market that continues to do well because Africa, you're earning a profit. You're turning a profit. It might not be a lot, but at least it tells you that, okay, you are doing well in Africa. Now, maybe you want to go year by year and you want to find out, are we earning a profit every year? Like, how is the performance YOY? For this, I can open up my year from here and I can put it on the play axis. And this creates a beautiful animation. So now you notice I can click on the play button and it tells me how is my sales moving over time. So forget tables. Let's look at one of the other ones. Let's say I want to look at machines. Now I'm not happy with this product because this product is in the top 8. The top line is also pretty high. It's 7,79,000. But the profit is minuscule. We are only earning 7.56% profit. That's not good at all. So what do we do? Now I want to see that if I look at machines, okay, watch carefully. If I look at machines and currently we are sitting in APAC, right? So if I click on Asia Pacific, do you see what it did? It tells me that Asia Pacific in the first year of business, 2012, we were earning 7.45%. In the second year, it jumped. Look at this. From 7.45, it became 13%. So there was a massive jump in the profit margin. But we don't know what happened. The next year, it again dropped to 6.7, even worse than the first year of business. And in the current year, from 6.7, we have jumped to 12. So almost doubled. But there is this pattern which is there, right? The first year we increased, the second year we decreased, the third year we increased again. Why is this happening? Is this a natural seasonality? Or is it something that the company can work towards? That is what is the job of a data analyst. The job of a data analyst is not just to make this report and give it to the client, but to actually analyze, have a story behind it, and not just show the visuals, but talk about why it happened. What can be the corrective action or the actionables for us, right? Any questions, anyone? So we have done the table scatter chart. I've also shown you the measure, which is the profit margin, which was sum of profit divided by sum of sales.
Havish, could you show me where's the DAX functionality here?
Sure. You have to, so there is no formula bar that is visible permanently. Only when you click on the new measure,
okay, new measure.
then the formula bar appears like this.
Okay, got it. Yeah, got it. Thanks.
All right. Okay, let's continue. Now let's also talk a little bit about the data preparation. So there are a lot of terms out there. We call them data prep, data cleaning, data wrangling, data modeling. There are subtle differences between all of them, but broadly what we are doing is we are preparing the data. That means we are not doing calculations, but we are preparing the data so that we have all the necessary columns with us. Let me give you an example. So when I go to transform data, it opens up a new window. This is called Power Query. Power Query is an ETL tool similar to SQL, similar to Alteryx, similar to Tableau Prep. This allows you to clean the data. Let me give you an example. So we have the shipping date and the order date, and I want to find the difference between them, which is our dispatch time. So we want to know, did we take 1 day or 2 days or 3 days to dispatch the product? Where do we do that? We do that in Power Query. So I can go to add column. I can select custom column. And here we can say that our dispatch time is equal to my shipping date minus my order date, like this. This formula language that you see is called M, just the letter M. M stands for, we don't know what it stands for. It's the mashup language or the Microsoft language. So I click on OK and a new column is created, which is my dispatch time. Let me make this into a whole number like this. Now, if you say, Havish, could I have also found the profit margin in this? Not really. You know why? Because I can't divide profit by sales at a row level. That's not fair. Think of it this way. If Maruti Suzuki or let's say Hero MotoCorp is selling 5 lakh two-wheelers in a month, does that mean that the profit margin will be the profit margin of each single unit sold and the average? Not really. Profit margin will always be the sum of profit divided by the sum of sales. So here, doing it at a row-wise level will not be fair. We don't want to do profit by sales for every single transaction. What else can you do in Power Query? A lot of stuff. So we also have different types of merge available. Merge is like a join that you have in SQL. So your left outer join, inner join, full outer join. So combining two datasets like a VLOOKUP, you can do all of that in Power Query. Then data transformation, split column, merge column, pivot, unpivot, all of that can happen in Power Query. But for now, I'm going to close it. And now you notice there's a new column called the dispatch time. Now we want to do a more advanced analysis. I want to see the change year over year. Now that's one of the most fundamental business calculations, because any report that you see, you will always have something like this. So if you'll always say, this year, what was the sales? Last year, what was the sales? And what is the YY change that happened? Like this, right? So we sold 5 lakh. This year, we have sold 5.75. So there's an increase of 13.83%, right? But how do you do this? How do you find the YY analysis? Let's see. First, I'll make a column chart. And in this, I want to keep my sales value. But there's a problem. Because we are doing a calculation which requires date and time, year, quarter, month, hour, minute, something like that, we cannot use the inbuilt date table. That means the order date that we have, we can't use that. We will have to create a date table of our own. Now, how do we do that? I go to my data view and I will select a new table. To keep it simple, I'm making a very simple table right now, even though there are more advanced ways of doing it. But for now, I'm making a very simple date table, which is nothing but calendar auto. Once you have made the date table, now I will go to the model and I want to link the two tables together. So my order date will be linked with my date like this. So this has created a relationship, what you also call a cardinality. So that's a 1:many, which means that every single date in the date table has multiple transactions on the orders compact, which is your transactional data. Once you have done this, now I can pick up my date table and put it on the x-axis. We don't want to see this at a day level. We want to see it at a quarter level, for example. So I'll just scroll up, go to a quarter level. Those are what the arrows are for, like this. And at the quarter level, I want to see the change from one quarter to the next quarter. So for this, I will select quick measure. I can write the formula as well, but let's do it. In fact, let's write the formula. So I'll go to new measure and we will say that our QOQ change, that means the change from one quarter to the next quarter, is equal to what? So first I will create a variable for my current quarter. So my current quarter is equal to, I want to calculate the sum of my sales for my current quarter. So I'll just leave it like this, nothing else that we have to do. And for the previous quarter, we will say that we want to calculate the sum of my sales, but not for the current quarter, for the previous quarter. So we will say date add, and then I will select my date table, right? And I will say -1, and I'll say quarter, like this. Now that we have both the current and the previous quarter, I can return a result where we say that I would like to divide the current quarter minus the previous quarter divided by the previous quarter. That's it. Press enter. I will convert this into a percentage. We will first make a border and shadow so you can see it better. Right? And I want to keep this QQQ change here in the tooltips, right? So this is so cool. It tells me that let's look at the first quarter. We did 3,38,000. In Q2, we did 4,80,000. So what was the delta? What was the increase that happened? 41%. From Q4, 8 lakh, you dropped to 3.99. So the delta was a decrease of -51%, like this. Then, of course, there are many other things you can do. You can have different colors here and all of that, right? But yeah, that's broadly the idea how you do these type of calculations in DAX. Any questions on this, anyone? right? Okay, fine. Let's continue. Now let's take a small deviation and let's also look at Tableau to see how similar the experience is working on Tableau. I'm working on Tableau public desktop, which is the free version. There is a paid version, but that will cost you $70 per month. That's like 6,000 bucks. But with the free version, you can make all the visuals you want. The only catch is that you cannot save your work on the laptop. You will have to save it on the cloud. Power BI has no such problem. You notice that I can go to File, I can go to Save As, and I can save it on my desktop. In fact, I'll show you. I can just go to my desktop and I can just save it here. And then you can send it as an email attachment to other people. Tableau doesn't give you that option in the free version. Anyway, so I'll connect to Excel, the same file. So we have Havisham Consulting, and then we have Power BI, and a cleaned data set. Now, Tableau is very, very good at visuals. The quality of visuals that you can do on Tableau cannot be matched in Power BI. Even though now in Power BI you have many other new features, but there's no competition for Tableau in terms of the flexibility that you have with visualization. Let me show you. So this is my data. I'll just make a sheet. Now all the columns are on the right, on the left side. In Power BI, they were on the right side. Here they're on the left side. First, we will make a map. So I will double click on country. It automatically plots all the country. In Tableau, one page or one sheet can only have one visual. You can't have multiple visuals on one sheet. So in Tableau, we first make multiple sheets and then we create a dashboard. In Power BI, we can create a dashboard straight away. That's the difference. But we have all the countries. What if I don't want to have a symbol? What if I want to have the boundary of the country? So I can just go to show me and I can change that from a symbol map to a normal map like this. Looks a lot better. In the color, I also want to add a border. So I will add a border here so you can see the boundary of each country. Maybe I want to zoom into India. Okay. So I will just click on this plus button. Now it shows me all the states like this. Very cool. Now I would also like to have different colors, right? So I will put the sales in the color so that the colors change a little bit, right? Like this. Now, what if you only want to see India? You're not interested in the other countries. I can put my country in the filters and we can say that we are only interested in India right now. Looks a lot better. Of course, then there are a lot of different types of maps available, as you can see. So you have this dark map and street map and all of that. All these are inbuilt. In addition to it, you can also import your own maps. So you can create an account on Mapbox and you can import your own maps as well. All of this I've covered on YouTube, right? Okay, so here is what we have. How do you do a calculation in Tableau similar to Power BI? Almost the same way. I go to analysis and I create a calculated field. And here I will say that my profit margin is equal to what? We don't put an equal to sign in Tableau. We simply say the sum of my profit divided by the sum of my sales value. In Tableau, you don't put an equal to sign. It is incorrect if you do that. And you notice the profit margin is created. I can just click on it, default properties, number format, make this into a percentage. Now, if you put the profit margin as the label, then I can actually see the profit margin for each of the states that we have. You can also put it in the color, right? So now the color represents the profit margin. All the states are profitable, but at different degrees that we have. Then in color, you have a lot of different palettes available. So I can choose a green gold palette, something like this. So that looks a lot nicer. Now, Tableau, like I said, is very, very good at the flexibility with the visualization. For example, in Tableau, if I want to make 3 maps, one for each segment, I can just put the segment in my columns, just like a pivot table, and it will make 3 maps. You can't do that on Power BI, right? These type of features are not available on Power BI. Just see how nice this looks. As a matter of fact, if you want to make 9 maps, you can also put the category in the rows, and now you get 9 maps. How amazing is that? And how easy was that, right? Like this. Yeah, any questions, anyone on Tableau? I know it's pretty fast, and for those of you who have never done it before, I don't expect you to follow all the steps and remember everything, but that's okay. The idea of this workshop is for you to get, a view of, okay, what the tool looks like. Like when I worked on Power BI for the first time, I mean, it was just so new. It was so different to Excel, right? So that's the point, for you to get familiarized with the software. Of course, there's a learning curve, and people have spent 18, 19 years working on Tableau. So it's not something that you will learn overnight, but over a period of time. Okay, now let's look at some consulting reports and try to see how we can recreate those visualizations either on Power BI or on Tableau, right? So let's say I have just a moment. Okay, let's say we have something like this. Now, I really love this visual. It tells me a 4-year period from 2018 to 2022. And in that 4-year period, for all the countries, what was the change in real GDP and the per capita, right? So I love the fact that it's not just a snapshot, it actually shows you that change over time. For example, if you look at Sweden, which is a more mature market, the GDP did not increase by much, but the per capita increased significantly. On the other hand, if you look at India, the GDP increased a lot, but the per capita did not increase a lot, right? And of course, we know the reason for that. China, if you see, GDP increased significantly, but per capita again did not increase a lot. How do you create something like this on Tableau, let's say? So I'll make a new sheet, and very similar to Power BI, I'll first select my sales and profit, and let's select our um, market, for example, right? So we have 5 markets here, like this. Let me put this in the detail. Let's also increase the size so you can see them clearly. Okay. And maybe a more interesting color. Now we have 5 markets here. Let me put the label as well. Now I want to see that shift, correct? From one year to the other year. So I will put my year. So if you notice, I'm putting my order date in the pages. And what I would like to do now is that in the year, if I right click and filter, right, I can only select 2 years, 12 and 15. Apply and OK. And finally, in the options on the right side, right, there are all these options here with me. I will select that I want to show both for all. Now see what happens. The moment I go from the first year to the next year, do you see this? You're able to see that shift from one to the other. In fact, let me keep different colors so you're able to understand better. Look at this. So it's almost like what we saw in this visualization, isn't it? That's the point. When you're working on visuals, it's not just about taking a blank template and saying, let's go crazy and try to do different things. That is never the approach. The correct approach always is to have an idea with you. So when you start reading and consuming a lot of these reports, you will say, oh, I like it. I want to create something like this. And then you see, okay, how do I recreate this on Power BI or on Tableau? For example, this is a KPMG report where they have shown the composition. So right now there are different sectors that we have, and they're showing that overall it is 100%. It's so much better than a bar chart or a pie chart or a column chart, isn't it? How do you create something like this? Let's see. So I'll make another sheet. I will double click on subcategory, double click on sales, and this is an inbuilt chart. See, you can make a bar chart as well, but then there's nothing special about it. A pie chart, I don't think is the right option because there are 17 of them. But a tree map just looks so much better. Look at this. And then I can keep the subcategory or maybe the category in the color. So now you get 3 colors for the 3 subcategories that you have. Just see how nice this looks. Similar to what we created here as well. And then of course you spend a lot of time on the formatting to get the colors right and the size right and things like that. Right? If you put the sales in the label as well, like this. Right? So top left corner is the largest subcategory, bottom right is the smallest subcategory. Yeah. Any questions, anyone? Okay, now the equivalent of Power Query on Tableau is something called Tableau Prep. Now, I don't have any personal experience working on it, so I won't be able to tell you a lot, but this is basically the equivalent of Power Query on Tableau. There are many other tools like it. There's a tool called Alteryx. Even though Alteryx does many other things as well, but basically what we're doing here is data preparation. Let's say you want to combine multiple data sets into a single data set. Let me give you an example. Coming back to Power BI, let's say I want to combine 3 Excel files into a single file. Let's see. So I will go to get data. And here, I'm not going to select the 3 Excel files one by one. What I'm going to do is to select a folder. You can see there are about 80, 90 connectors available here. And it keeps on getting updated every month. But for now, because I have 3 files in a folder, I'm going to select a folder and then click on connect. I will select my folder path. So this is currently on my desktop, ongoing trainings, and we have, let's take inside IM and sales historical, right? When I click on it, you will notice that there are 3 years of data in it, 2011, 2012, and 2013. As you can see, 2011, 2012, 2013. Obviously, right now we are assuming that it is all the same template, but even if it's not the same template, we can still work with it. Even if the columns were a different spelling, the order was different, the number was different, we could still have managed. But in this case, life is simple. All of them have exactly the same template. So I want to combine and transform. And the final step is we have to select the sheet that we want. So you notice that we have the option for a sheet, which is here, sales, and I click on OK. And you know what? That's it. I just had to select the folder, select the sheet, and it has automatically combined the data from all the 3 years, as you can see, 2011, 2012, and 2013, all neatly one below the other. And Power BI can combine not just Excel files, but also PDFs. It can also combine CSV files. Like there was a client project I was doing for the Ministry of Power. And just to show you what that project looked like, we were given like thousands of PDFs like this. So these were different disbursement advices. Let me just open one of these to show you like this. Now imagine we had to take all the disbursement advice and the licensee wise payment details from 1,000 of PDF and we had to combine it. Imagine the amount of time it will take you to do it. One, we know that we can't even copy paste it properly. We know that copy paste from Excel, from PDF to Excel doesn't work perfectly every time. That's problem 1. Problem 2, even if you can copy and paste, who has the time to do it with thousands of them, correct? So we want to automate the process. So something like this also we did in Power Query, right? So Power Query can combine any type of files that you have. Any questions on this, anyone?
Hi, Havish, can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Yeah, so here we are using Power Query or this feature from Power BI to append several different files together, right? So how do we know if it is 100% accurate or if there is any error? Does Power BI pops up an error box if there is any kind of issue with the Excels or the files that we give as an input, or is it just a blind trust that we have?
Yeah, I mean, I would not say it's blind trust. At the end of the day, if you're trying to combine files, then it's your responsibility to make sure that the input is correct. If the input itself is incorrect, then you can't blame Power BI for it. Of course, there are errors that will come up, but then that depends on what type of problem was there in the input. For example, was the sheet name different? Were there extra columns? Were there lesser columns? Was the column position different? Was the spelling of the column different? Did the file have a password on it? Did the sheet have a password on it? Was the sheet hidden? Were there multiple sheets in one file? So like this, there can be a lot of possibilities, right? That is exactly what I've covered in this video, which is there on YouTube. So I've taken 17 of these very common problems. So file having the same template we know works very well. What if the data doesn't start on A1? What if the column order is not the same? What if the spelling is different? What if there are additional column? What if there are multiple headers? What if there are merged cells, right? What if the sheet is protected? So in every one of these cases, we can use Power Query, but then it will require some bit of customization. For example, right now we were assuming that the sheet name, which is sales, in all the three files were the same. It was called sales, sales, and sales. If that was not the case, then I'll have to go to this step called transform file. I'll have to go to advanced editor and I'll have to manually change the name here. So this step that is called source sales sheet, I'll have to remove this and I'll have to call it 1 like that. So the answer to your question is that for any issue that you have, you can fix it, but then that might require 1 or 2 or 3 or 6 additional steps. What is the error? That can differ, right? So will Power Query tell you exactly what the problem is? Most likely no, right? Because errors can be of 100 different types. So it is your onus as the data analyst to make sure that your input is correct.
Okay, Havish, thank you.
Yeah, anything else, anyone?
Hi, Avish. Good evening.
Yes.
Suppose if we have 2 or 3 Excel files and each Excel file has more than 10 lakh rows. If we are getting it downloaded from directly our portal, like if we have internal portal at our company, and we are downloading the file from that particular portal, and each file has multiple rows, more than 10 lakh rows, or more than the limit of Excel. So will it get merged in Power Query? Like, will it require any kind of DEX functionality, or will it get
Sure.
merged?
So that won't be a merge because the merge is left to right. That will be an append, which is one below the other. Excel cannot have more than a million rows in one single sheet. Power BI doesn't have any limit. So I mean, theoretically, there is no limit in Power BI. Usually the number we put forth is 2 billion, which is 200 crore, which is like a massive number. Yeah, but as such, Power BI does not have a data limit. You can see that Power BI can even connect, if I can just show you. Power BI can even connect to big data, right? So that should not be a problem at all.
Okay.
Right? So we have all these cloud connectors available. So that won't be a problem.
Okay. Yeah.
And Power BI also has compatibility with both R and Python scripting. So does Tableau. So there's very little difference there. But if you want to use pandas to import your data, you don't want to use Power Query directly. That first step can also be done via pandas. That's also possible. So I can just open up Python script and I can literally write my Python script here. That will also work.
Okay.
Anything else, anyone?
No. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, now in Excel, we have something called flash fill, which allows you to clean the data using Control+E. I want to show you what is the equivalent that we have in Power Query. Now, let us say we have an order ID, and you will notice that there are 3 paths in it. We have IN 2011-81826, right? So as you can see, in every row, we have the same pattern, 2 letters, 4 numbers, and then 5 numbers. But the problem is that if I look at 2013, it's the same pattern. The 4 numbers in the middle is actually the year that is being denoted. But that doesn't make any sense. I don't want to have the year. I just want to create an order ID which does not have the 2011 in it. I just want to call it IN81826. Now in Excel, if I ask you this question, you will say we will use left, right, mid, find, all of that. How do you do that in Power Query? So I'll select the column. I'll go to add column and then column from examples and then from selection. Now we simply have to give it a sample, right? So this is an AI tool. I just give it a sample. I say the result that I want is IN-81826. It doesn't know what to do. I'll give one more sample. So CA-102988. Now see what happens. The moment I press enter, it automatically understands what I wanted. So now it knows, oh, Havish wanted to pick the first two letters, add a dash, and then the last bunch of letters, numbers that we have. So it has automatically created a formula. You can see text.combine, text.start, text.middle. Power Query is not like Excel, so don't expect to find a left and a right and a mid here. The functions will be different. But the cool part is that it is automatically creating the formula with the appropriate functions for you. So the moment I click on OK, how cool is that? It actually created the result for you and it has written the formula for you automatically. Like you don't have to learn and remember and teach someone how to write the formula. You just give it a sample and it will automatically write the formula for you. Any questions on this? Anyone? Right? So that was column from examples, similar to how we have flash fill on Excel, right? Okay, now let's hop over back to visualizations. So Power BI has these inbuilt charts, what you can see here. It's quite a lot, but does not all. In Power BI, there is also a store available that is called App Source. So this is a marketplace, and I'm not sure why it's asking me to sign in. Just give me a second. Okay, so you can see that we have a store where there are more than 300 visuals available. Most of them are free, some are paid. Some of them are made by Microsoft, but most of them are made by other companies, right? So let me show you one of the cool ones. So we have something called the donut chart, which is this one, the advanced donut. So let me install it. So add. Now how this is different from an inbuilt donut or a pie chart is that you can have an animation in it. Please watch. So when I make a normal pie chart and I keep 3 levels in it, let's say I keep my segment and category and subcategory with the sales value, right? I don't think anybody will complain because it looks pretty good, right? I mean, we have the 3 segments. If I click on the drill down button, then I can go within consumer to see all the subcategory. And then I can also see the category like this. If I let me just switch it like this. So one more time, I click on one segment, then I click on one category. I can see all the subcategory. And this is very cool. You can't even do this on Excel. But if you do this with the visual that I downloaded, it's going to look so much better. Watch this. Now, also it is clickable, but when I actually click here, look at the animation that comes. How cool is that? Right? And this is basically no code, so you don't have to learn any coding. It just requires you to put in the fields and the value. That's all. So like this, there are 300 plus visuals available. I'm not even sure where to start because there's so much that is available here. But yeah, I mean, definitely worth a look. Some of these are very simple. Some of these are very sophisticated, but there's a lot available, right, that you have here. Okay. The other option that we have is to add a visual on top of another visualization, right? So let me just explain what I mean by that. Just clean up a little bit. There's a lot of stuff open. So we don't need all this. Hold on. Yeah, I think we're good to go. Okay. So if you look at, in fact, let me show you the live dashboard. That way you will understand it better. So if I show you my Power BI service, right? And I show you my workspace, and let's look at small. Let's look at one of these dashboards. So this was actually a client project, but I've cleaned up the data so that you can see the visualization. So you will notice that when I hover my mouse over any one of these months, it just doesn't show me a number. It gives me an entire detailed tooltip telling me the monthly sales, lifetime sales, YTD, and the YY growth, right? Similarly, let me in fact go full screen. Similarly, when I hover my mouse, you notice there's a large, big, bold tooltip that appears. If I want to see the data in more detail, I can click on the See More button, and it actually allows me to see the detail like this, and I can close it as well. Okay, now how do you create this? How do you create a visual on top of another visualization? Let's see. So I'll first make another page. I will go to Format, and in Page Information, I will enable Tooltip. On this, we can create any chart that we want. So you can see that I already have here, if you notice, we already have the date and the sales. So maybe I want to keep something else. I want to keep the tree map with the segment and my sales value, maybe like this, right? And then below that, I would also like to keep my profit like this. And maybe I want to show this as a column chart. I'm not beautifying it, but you get the idea, right? Now this is dynamic. What that means is that when I come back to page number 3, I don't want to see this default white colored tooltip. I want to see the other one. I want to see the other page. So I can go to Format. I can select General Tooltips, and then I can select the page number 5. This is so cool. Watch this. And this is dynamic. So whichever quarter I go to, you will notice that the tooltip changes, right? And with Power BI, the best part is that with the May update, Power BI gets updated every month. With the May update, you also have compatibility with MS Office. What that means is that once I publish it, let me do that. I'm just saving it and publishing it to my Power BI service in my trainings folder, okay? I'll open PowerPoint. All right, so you can see that once I publish it, now I'm able to simply copy the URL. Literally, I'll just click, copy the URL, come back to PowerPoint. I can go to Insert, Power BI, and I can just paste my URL here. Let me first log in. And how amazing is that? You are actually presenting a Power BI dashboard live inside your PowerPoint, and it's dynamic. Check this out. I mean, imagine possibilities, right? So Power BI is great at your data visualization, data cleaning, modeling, all of that. But now you're also able to connect it with your PowerPoint. So you can have your normal slides, plus you can have your Power BI report as well. Brand new feature just came in May, if I remember correctly. Similarly, after you have published a Power BI report, you will also be able to export it as an Excel. Now you might be wondering, why would I want to export it back as an Excel? Please see. Once you export it back as an Excel file, what has now happened is that you will see. Let it open first. Okay, I actually don't want to open it on the web, but that's okay. Hold on. Anyway, let's have a look. So you can see that a pivot table has been created, and how cool is that? Remember all the calculations that I did on DAX? Look at this, the QQQ change. I actually have that calculation in my pivot table. How amazing is that? And if you download it, if I save it as a local Excel file, please see. This is an Excel which has a pivot table in it, but it is connected to my Power BI. So it's all seamlessly integrated because it's all the Microsoft platform, isn't it? So you will notice that when I open the Excel, how cool is that? Check this out. I can actually put my country. I can put my date. Just a second. Okay, even though I'm not sure if I can put my date like that, because first I'll have to create my hierarchy. Yeah, that's okay. I won't be able to show you that, but at least let me show you the sales value or maybe the profit margin. At least that part you can see. So segment, profit margin, sales and profit. Here we go. How amazing is that? You're actually able to do a calculation directly within your pivot table, right? And if you go to pivot table, analyze, and you see the source, right? You will notice that the source is not a local Excel file. It's actually your Power BI report. So whenever Power BI gets updated, you can simply right click and refresh this as well. So it's such a seamless connection. You used Excel as a source, created calculations on Power BI, downloaded it back as an Excel, and it's all connected with each other. I mean, not that you have to do it, but it's good to have that option with you, right? Okay. Other than this on Tableau, let me just take you to YouTube and tell you what all I have, because in this limited time, I can't cover a lot, but let me at least tell you what all is there. Hold on. So let me go to my Power BI playlist. So one is there are calculations, right? So in Power BI, we use DAX. In Tableau, for more advanced calculation, we use something called LOD, level of detail expressions. Then if you're looking at YY growth, I just want to show you how you can do this on Power BI versus how to do it on Tableau. See, obviously it's a very, very common business requirement, the year-over-year change. This is how we do it in Power BI, which I did for you. This, everyone, is how you do it on Tableau. So remember, learning is always transferable. If you have learned how to do it in one tool, you can always pick up how to do it in a different tool. Sure, the function might be different, the semantics might be different. So what? Like when one of my clients asked me, Havish, how do I find a YY in Tableau, which I had never done before. It took me like 2 minutes to figure it out, right? Even though the function here is very different, it's called ZN lookup. Here it is calculate previous year. It's completely different, but you have to have the confidence in yourself that if you have learned one tool, you can always pick up a different tool as well. Similarly, if I show you one of these videos on dynamic reference line. So here, if you notice, here I've shown you how you can have a horizontal line. Any number or any product above the line will be green in color. Any product below the line will be yellow in color. In this video, I've explained how to do this on Excel, how to do it on Tableau, and how to do it on Power BI. 3 completely different methods, but the end result is exactly the same. You create a dynamic reference line. So the suggestion I want to give to everyone is that when you're learning, don't just learn the tool, learn the topic and have the confidence that you should be able to apply it to other tools as well. Tomorrow, if you have to learn Python, you should feel, oh, if I understand how conditional logic or data cleaning works, I should be able to apply that to Python as well, right? Which means you have to spend more time. Quality over quantity. Don't be in a hurry. The idea is not to learn more and more and more. Trust me, nobody can learn everything. Right now, I'm doing a course on DAX, which is a really advanced course, and there are 157 videos in it. I've been doing this since April. And I study a lot. I study about 30 hours every week. So you can imagine even I haven't completed it. The point is I'm taking all the time in the world to do it. I watch the video, I practice, I rewatch the video if required, right? So don't be in a hurry to finish off all the topics because there's just so much content out there. Even if I share one good channel with you, so there's other than my channel, of course, there's a great channel on Power BI called Guy in a Cube. Guy in a Cube has, this is crazy. They have some 800 videos on Power BI. you really feel you'll be able to watch all of it. This is crazy. Just look at the amount of content that is there. If you're looking at Excel, in Excel, you have Mr. Excel, who has 2,500 odd videos. So this is, I don't know what number he's at now. It's like a lot. So 2,530. There are 2,500 videos on Excel. Who will be able to watch all of it? No one. But that doesn't matter. The challenge is not to watch all of it. You just have to watch like 5, 10 every day as a habit, right? I think that's the most important thing if you want to learn Tableau and Power BI. So Power BI has three big components: Power Query, DAX, and visualization. I've shown you a glimpse of all the three things. In Tableau, I've shown you how to do a calculation, which is analysis and calculated field. There's just one more thing, which is called a parameter. So if you right click, I can also create a parameter. A parameter is like a simulation, a what if scenario, where you say that I want to have a number between 1 and 10, or a value between 50,000 and 1,50,000. We have the same thing in Power BI as well. Here it's called a parameter. In Power BI, we call it also a parameter. We have a field and a numeric parameter. As you can see, they're very similar to each other, but Tableau is more focused on the visualization side. Power BI is more focused on the entire experience, So the model that you can create, that is very sophisticated. The data cleaning that you have is much more sophisticated. Plus, Microsoft integrates Power BI very well with Azure, MS Office, Microsoft Teams. So for organizations that are already using a lot of Microsoft, it makes sense to use Power BI. For organizations that use a lot of Salesforce, Tableau is the one that they use. But in the Indian context, at least if I speak about my clients, everyone is working on Power BI. Even the ones who globally work on Tableau are now shifting towards Power BI. And there are reasons for that. It's cheaper, it's easier to learn, integrates better, right? But sure, both the tools are very important, and there are jobs out there for both the tools. But if I had to pick one, hands down, Power BI will be the one that I pick. Yeah, any questions, anyone? Even any general question that you have. Like, for example, I know we are talking about Power BI and Tableau, but remember, don't ignore Excel, because how DAX works is very similar to how Excel also works. Let me give you an example. Like even in Excel, I can declare variables. So if I have 5 and 10 and I want to add the two, I can actually write let, and I can say that input 1 is C2, and then input 2 is C3. And the result that I want to see is input 1 plus input 2, like that. So like I showed you the variable that we have in DAX, similarly, we are able to do the same thing in Excel as well. Also, like in Python, you have an anonymous function called a lambda. We have lambda now in Excel as well. So in fact, now there's an entire interface that you have. So this is called the advanced formula environment, which is, okay, not this one. I'll show you the other one, like this. And it says there's an update required. Just give me a second. Okay, what just happened? Just disappeared. Okay, let me restart Excel once. Hold on. So the point I'm trying to tell you is that when I started learning DAX, I realized that I'm really sorry, it doesn't seem to be working for me. Hold on. This is not the one. Just a second. Yeah, really sorry about that. I think there's some problem that is coming. Just not good, because I definitely need the formula environment. Let me just try once and see if it is there in the add-ins by chance. Hold on. Okay, so let me add it. Okay, so I have to update it, but I'm not able to do that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. If it's not updating, it's not updating. One last try. Yeah, it's working now. So as you can see, this is a beautiful new interface that they have created. You can actually use it like a code window. For example, you have Visual Studio Code. So the point I'm trying to make is that this is happening, whether you like it or not. The change is there for everyone to see. Now I can even do JavaScript within Excel. I mean, just check this out. Now we can all pretend to ignore it and say, no, no, this is not what we thought of Excel. Like I can say I've been working on Excel for 18 years now, but that's not the point, right? Like it is there. You can choose not to learn it. I can choose not to learn it, but then my clients are going to expect me to know it. So coding is the future. All of us have to learn it. You like it a lot, or you don't like it. It doesn't matter. It's just one of those things that you have to learn. Like imagine you can't go to your boss and say, I don't like creating PowerPoint presentations, correct? We have to. Whether we like it or we love it or we hate it, we have to, right? Coding is like that. Coding is everywhere around you, even on Excel. Imagine after 5 years, somebody who knows coding on Excel and somebody who doesn't. Who do you think the organization is going to prefer? Obviously, the one who knows coding, right? I mean, that's a no-brainer. So that's just my genuine advice to everyone, because I have also realized this, and I started learning coding at the age of 28. So I realized that enough is enough. And if I want to, be foolproof in the future, then I have to learn coding. And I started, I'm happy that I started. And then it took me a while, but I grasped it. So my suggestion to everyone is that even in Excel now you have all these fancy things like Lambda and anonymous functions and all. So please start learning coding a little bit. You don't have to be an expert. Just some basic programming courses should be enough. But that's like really important. Even when you're working on Power Query and DAX, I think having the sensibility of a programmer will really help you become a better Power BI user. Making visuals is the easiest part, right? All those fancy visuals that I showed you, that's the easy part. The more difficult part is the data preparation and the calculations. That always occupies the most amount of time, right? So that would be my suggestion, what you should focus on. Yeah, I mean, I'm done from my side. I've given you a little bit of glimpse, which is what the idea was, a little bit of plug-in as well, everyone. If you are interested in my courses, I have courses on Power BI, Tableau, basic to advanced, then on Excel, PowerPoint, all of it. So there is a mega bundle, which is 34 courses. So 18 on Excel, 2 Google Sheets, Power BI, Tableau, PowerPoint, everything is there. That's for 3499. And then there are different courses available. There's a PowerPoint bundle. There's an Excel bundle for 1299. So this covers DAX, Power Query, VBA, financial modeling, HR analytics, data cleaning, VLOOKUP, pivot tables, basically anything and everything related to Excel has been covered in it. This is about 45 hours of content with all the case studies. And it's basically the same thing that I'm teaching in my corporate trainings that has been covered here as well, right? So I'll just share the link with everyone in case you want to have a look at it. And if you're interested, you can, it would be great if you can have a go. Right. Anything else, anyone? The forum is open. Anything you would like to ask me?
Yeah, Havish, good evening. This is Dr. Vijay. Thank you for sharing the link. And it was so kind of you. You responded so promptly. And my only query is, since though you have already guided on that as a person of HR, I think a preferable way to begin would be the one which you showed recently, the HR, the bundle which has also HR analytics. But since you were talking about coding, because this we didn't had. I mean, with respect to age, we are much elder to you. I'm running in my late 30s. So where should I start with? I mean, I know I bothered you a little, prompting you to respond on what should be the beginning, especially in terms of.
I'll answer that. I'll answer that. I don't want to just give you like a half answer and say learn it without telling you where to learn it. I'll tell you exactly where to learn from. Okay. So this is one course that I like. I recommend to everyone. You can pick up any course, but I just want to give you a sense of what type of course. Right. Something like this. This is a programming fundamental. It doesn't actually teach you to code. Please, everyone, try to understand that. Okay, so I have to code, but all of you will not have to write code. All I'm requesting everyone to do is to understand it. That means tomorrow, let's say you are dealing with someone, right? You're working in a team. Somebody else says, oh, this is what we are doing. We are creating an app. We are doing some automation. At least when they're explaining that, we made some variables, we had to install 3 libraries, you will at least be able to follow what they are saying. That is my goal. The goal is not for you to become a coder. The goal is for you to understand what it is. So a course like this, as you can see, it just tells you what it is. Just look at this. What are variables? What are languages? What are different data types? How does an output come? What is conditional code? What is modular code? And that is it. I don't expect you to do anything more than that. Okay. I don't expect you to start writing 1,000 lines of code, but at least the fundamentals. What is a loop? What is a library? What is a package? What is a Lambda function? Right? I think those are the things that everybody should be aware of.
Right. So it will be really kind if you can just share this link in the chat box. I'll
This
definitely.
one? Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I'll share something better with you. So if you want to watch online, there's a guy called Mosh Hemdani. He has some of the best videos on programming. And the best part is he has these 1-hour courses. See, Java beginners, learn Python in 1 hour. See, you won't become an expert in 1 hour, but you will at least become aware of what it is. So imagine if till today you did not even know what JavaScript is, while everybody talks about it. After watching this 48-minute video, I can guarantee that you will feel so much more confident and comfortable that you at least know what it is, right? So this is Programming with Mosh, and I'll just share it with everyone on the chat window.
Sure, sure. But and I mean, will it be? I mean, what do you suggest? Should I go through this first and then opt for the bundle that you just suggested, or can that go parallel?
It's all parallel. I mean, you want to see how many courses I do in a year? Hold on.
No, I already have accessed a lot on LinkedIn.
I do like 150, 170 courses every year, but it doesn't mean that I complete all of them, right? So the point I'm trying to make is, see, it's a very personal thing. If you feel, Avishai, I'm the sort of a person who will finish one thing completely before moving on to the next one, great.
Absolutely.
I, for one, never like that idea because I feel that in the beginning, everything is very nice and interesting, but after a while, it becomes boring and we slow down the pace. So if you mix it up, like right now, if you ask me, I'm teaching myself Lambda. I'm teaching myself a little bit of JavaScript. I'm learning DAX, which I've been learning for a while. So I'm mixing it up. So, 2 days I'll do one thing. The third and fourth day I'll do a different thing. So this way I feel that I don't get bored. See, the reality is that even as a data analyst, I love data. It doesn't mean that I love studying it every single day. I mean, I also want to change, right? So I like to mix it up and I like to spice it up and I keep on changing things. That's what works for me.
My only doubt was, with respect to belonging to a non-CS or IT background, hope that won't be a hurdle.
I'm a commerce student with an MBA in marketing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a living, breathing example of somebody who never studied any IT.
There are always exceptions, Havish. And
No, there's nothing exceptional about me. Let me say that I don't have an excellent memory or anything exceptional about me. It's just, but it's sheer work. I put in many hours behind it, and I continue. Like I said, to this day, I continue to study at least 30 hours every week.
Wow, that's great. Thank you so much. This link I'll quickly copy from the chat box, and we'll start at my.
Absolutely. Let me see if there are any other questions. Perfect. I think great. Thank you everyone for joining in. I hope there was some takeaways for everyone.
Havish, I had a quick question. This is Rohit.
Please.
So,
yes.
The session itself started with an introduction of your academic background and your professional background, and you mentioned some clients that you work with, right? So, do you work as a separate consultant, and what are the job prospects of someone who has a data visualization background as a consultant? Not necessarily as a data analyst, but who is in the path of becoming a data analyst, but maybe one who is just experienced with creating good visuals based on the data that is provided by the client, or maybe the conversions that you that you mentioned before, right? From Excel to Power BI or something like that.
Okay, so I'm going to be very careful while answering that question. See, I work as an independent consultant. So the work I do is also, I don't know if there are others who work the way I work, but the work I do is quite unique because I choose my work structure, right? And if I have to tell you in one line what I do, I enable clients to become more efficient. So for example, if in a board meeting, people are spending 3 hours discussing their monthly report, and I tell them that, okay, you can do the same thing with Power BI more efficiently in 20 minutes, that's an efficiency. If I tell them that your CAs in your FPA team were spending collectively 50 hours to consolidate the data at the end of every financial year, and I can reduce that to 15 hours by using VBA, that for me is efficiency, right? So anything where an efficiency can come in, that is where I step in. The tool doesn't matter. It might be simple Excel formulas. It might be Visual Basic. It can be Power Query or a combination of all these things. But because I work with so many clients and I also engage a lot with consultants, from a consulting point of view, right? So if you're working with a PwC, EY, or even as a data analyst consultant with some other firm, what I think would really help you is to just go to Naukri and just search for Power BI, because there are about 25,000 jobs, 22,000 jobs on Power BI. Shortlist the ones that are related to you. For example, anything that has a lot of IT in it, it has Hadoop and big data and SQL, probably that's not the one you want. I don't know. So just shortlist the one that you feel is suited to you in terms of experience and in terms of skill set. And just in detail, like pick up one of these and read in detail what the JD is. Some of these are very detailed, some of these aren't. Like this one isn't, as a matter of fact, but some of these I know are very detailed, and you will immediately spot, okay, you know what, I'm very good at these things, and these are things that I've never even heard of, for example, right? So I think that would be a good starting point for you. One more person I would request you to follow is Sanjay, who
Yeah,
was
I
one
do
of my
follow him. I mean,
so
it is
Sanjay was
from
my
him
intern
whom,
for 4 months, and
yeah,
he MBA finance ended up working as a Power BI analyst. And Sanjay is
yeah,
very prolific with his posts and he clarifies a lot of things. So I think much better
yes.
than me. I think he would be the right person to guide in terms of how to end up creating a portfolio. And see, I can tell you how to become an entrepreneur, but to work in the corporate in anything in the
Yeah, my
periphery of
question
data.
was actually related to that because I heard from Sanjay on how to build a portfolio and getting into our dream company. But I wanted to know from you on how to start up on our own, like not working for a corporate, but as an independent consultant.
Okay.
Like, is there any prospect out there now?
I mean,
Like, yeah, that is what I wanted to know.
yeah, I think of course there's a lot of prospect. I mean, I'll complete 4 years next February, and
Okay.
of course can't share numbers, but I'm doing fairly well for myself. But then
Got it.
it's a typical entrepreneur's journey, right? I mean, forget data. Maybe I was selling toothpaste in a store, or I'm a data analyst. This is a business. Entrepreneurship is business, right? So that mindset and that
Yep.
approach, everything has to be business oriented. So dealing with highs and lows and working long hours and taking a lot of shit. So it's just the nature of being an entrepreneur. It's not that my story is very unique. I think every entrepreneur has the same story. So if that is what you're interested in, I think there's a lot of scope. But then you have to be really, really good at what you do. And I'll tell you why I mean that. See, there is all, like, I just did a project for Mondelez. I'll just show you. So last week I was in Mondelez for their Asia Pacific FPA finance team, right? So finance controller. So it was a team of chartered accountants. We were creating global dashboards on Power BI. Now they have Fractal, which is a global vendor for them that helps them with their dashboards. Now they are transitioning from Tableau to Power BI. Now think of it this way. I am a one-man army, right? My exposure is also limited because I don't have a team that teaches me and bosses that motivate me and push me and all of that. Whatever I have to do, the bulk of it, I mean, I would say 90% of what I learn is by reading, because I have to read and I have to read and I have to read like it's nobody's business. Because where else will I learn from? You have to understand, because when you work in a company, there's so much exposure. You meet a partner, you meet a leader, you have these trainings, you have guest lectures and whatnot. For me, I think for everybody as an entrepreneur, the biggest thing is to understand you are alone in this world. You have to figure out stuff for yourself. And you have to actively go and search for these strings to pull on. For me, what worked, I can share with you. I realize I have to study 10 times more than anybody else out there. If other people are reading 5 links, I have to go and read 50 links. If other people are spending 2 hours trying to understand a new feature, I'm going to spend 10 hours doing it, right? It's just as simple as that, so it's longer hours, more work, right? When others say, you know what, I'm tired and I give up, I'm saying I'm only getting started. Because I have to, right? Otherwise, how am I going to compete with a consultant coming from EY? I mean, look at the experiences that person has had versus me. What experiences do I have to share? Plus, you have to build a brand, you have to build credibility. So now that Havisham Consulting is rubbing shoulders in its own small way, so now when I am a partner with, at an event in a B school and I see that I'm next to a Reckitt or a Swiggy or a PwC, it's very heartening, but it takes time to build that, so a lot of calls, a lot of hustle constantly is what is required. But yeah, I mean, it's wonderful. I mean, if this is what excites you after listening to all this, by all means, all power to you. Go ahead and do it, but be prepared to put in your heart and soul. This is not half-heartedly, okay? Once you're in
Got
it,
it.
then you're in it. I mean, then there's no going
Yeah.
back, right? So you have to
Okay.
give it your everything.
Got it. Thanks, Avish. Thank you so much for the session.
Excellent. Great. I think all of you already have me on LinkedIn as a connection. You have me on email. Any queries that you have, either related to the bundle that is there or any general questions, you can always send me an email. And I'm almost very prompt. So typically within a day, you will always get a reply from me, right? Perfect. Great. Thank you so much for joining in. And I hope to see you. I plan to do a lot more open sessions. So there's one on forecasting. There's one on VLOOKUP that I'm planning in the next week. So I hope to see you join those as well.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you so much for such a simple and I mean, you ended it so beautifully in such a motivational way. It really geared up. It was, I mean, a lot of fueled we are feeling. Thank you so much.
Glad
Thank
to
you.
know that. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.